Hi guys, I'm Kat Hayes. I am the wonderful crafter who showed you guys how to turn a knitted rectangle into a hat. Today I am going to be just doing a video on more of my own lived experience with being in recovery from both bipolar disorder and self-harm. My upbringing and childhood was somewhat chaotic because from about the age of 3 to 4, my parents separated, and it was from the time I was about 4 until I was about 8, they went through a very messy divorce, and right after the divorce, my dad got married, and I gained a stepsister who he legally adopted, who I love dearly. She is one of the best things to have probably come out of that situation. My mom married my stepdad, they've been together for 21 years, and he was a big proponent for helping keep my life between two different households stable. Because if he was not there to provide the stability for my mom and for us, where I mainly lived with her, not sure where I'd be right now. So probably equal parts chaotic going forward, but also I was very blessed with the fact that I had, my mom and my stepdad were very pro mental health stuff. My mom was a big proponent behind my mental health care. She looked at me when I was diagnosed and said, "You are going to take medication, you're going to therapy," and she was one of my big advocates. My mom has dealt with depression. There's stuff on my dad's side of the family. I've had a second cousin who had bipolar. Sad story with that was he was agitated enough that he came in and killed the mother of his 2 kids, and he shot himself, and that happened in 2012. And there's also, like I said, on my mom's side of the family, I have several cousins who also have issues with mental health. I have an older cousin who has bipolar, so lots of family history of it on both sides of the family. I've been fortunate that, like I said, my mom is a big proponent and was a big advocate for my mental health and treatment of bipolar. I was diagnosed at a young age. At first it was like about 10 to 13, it was just depression, and then because I'm a classic rapid cycler, I got the diagnosis of bipolar at about 13 to 14. So I've been in and out of therapy, been seeing psychiatrists a long time, probably since therapy has been going on since I was real little, probably during my parents' divorce, and then on. Really figuring out how to treat the bipolar started when I was 13 to 14, and we went through the really frustrating process of doing the trial and error of figuring out what medications worked. And I was fairly moderately stable through high school, got into college, and that's when I got more stable with things. So I would say definitely treatment for bipolar did start when I was first diagnosed, but it's been an ongoing process of making sure medication management and therapy works. My mental health is fairly good right now. I know just from pretty much like a lifetime of experience, okay, one of the things that's really affecting me right now is we've had the time change for daylight savings, and we're getting less sunlight. So I'm like, okay, I know this is going to be my seasonal depression that kicks in, not where I'm like super sad and I'm full of despair. It's just, for me, when that happens and it's managed, I go from I have lots of energy and motivation to doing things, and I'm like, let's go, let's go, do, to once we hit winter, I have less energy for doing things, so I have to prioritize, like, what do I really want to do with being out? Because I can go and, do a couple of errands, and by the time I finished in Dollar Tree and I'm over at Walmart to go ahead and go grocery shopping, it's like I do not have the mental energy to do this. So I have to physically force myself through the store and just get done what I need to, and then I head home. With that, I also have increased need for sleep. So I have to make sure I'm getting at least probably at 7 hours minimum per night of rest. And sometimes that's looking at things and being like, okay, I have to go to bed earlier. It's also being like, okay, with, decreased energy to be able to put into doing things, okay, do I really need to, go and do all these things tonight if I can spread it over longer period of time? An example of that was last week. I was like, I want to get my hair colored tonight. And then it's like, I don't have the energy to do this. I need some downtime at home before bed. So that ended up getting pushed off until the weekend. It's definitely about prioritizing sleep and prioritizing how much energy you have to be able to be out and about to do things. Once triggers for self-harm are reduced, that's not an issue. I'd gone 5 years until this past June without any kind of self-harm, and that happened because I was pushed to a point with a coworker engaging in workplace bullying that I just got pushed and I couldn't handle it anymore. Thankfully, those situations are very far and few between. The bipolar can be a little trickier to manage sometimes, depending on what's happening, because one of the things that'll happen with me is I usually keep a good lid on my emotions as far as keeping myself in check, but it can be a case of a conversation will happen with my siblings or something minor will happen, and it's like, okay, this doesn't bother me, this is fine, and then give it a couple weeks, and then it's like shaking up a bottle of soda. You keep shaking it and agitating it to the point where when you open it, it just kind of explodes. So I have to be mindful of like, okay, is this something that's really bothering me, and do I need to at least like voice it to somebody like, hey, I'm frustrated over this. This made me angry. And usually if I can give voice to it and not just like file it away where it's, oh no, this really didn't bother me, it becomes okay. An example of how that happened was I had one of my siblings last year. We were talking about something, and they looked at me after I'd completed my program to become a certified medical assistant, and they looked at me and said, oh, you're just a CMA. It's only a certificate. And that really it did hurt me, and it made me angry because it was almost 2 years out of my life for that to complete it. And to have it just reduced to it's only a certificate, it's not even a degree, is very frustrating. And that did, just like being, oh, that's fine, come back to, biting me in the butt where I wasn't giving voice to this really bothers me. It was a case of, I snapped at my mom over something really trivial later, about 2 weeks later. So it's just making sure I'm aware of what's bothering me. Stable mental health is a lot. Big thing for me for maintaining my ability to function, as I call it. Medication. I have to have my meds. If I don't have my medication, I turn into a not nice person. And you don't want to be around me when that happens. And I don't like being that person. So my meds are very central. If I make sure I have my meds to take, I make sure I take them because I like functioning normally. Other things I do: sleep. I am somebody who requires enough sleep, and that can come out sometimes. I've struggled with it because one of the things I struggled with during my program at ICC for becoming a medical assistant was I had a period of about 8 weeks. I would work until about 11:30 on a Sunday night and then have to drive home, and it'd be about midnight. And I'd have to turn around and be up by 6 a.m. the next day. Now, for other people, that might be like, oh, that's not a big deal. I have to have enough sleep to function. So that was a little bit of a struggle. Other things, I engage in my hobbies. That's a big thing for me to, if I'm having a stressful day, that's something that really keeps me on an even keel, because as far as my hobbies go, I read, I craft, I like watching different things, whether it be something familiar that's a favorite or something new. Like, I'm currently going through the different Star Treks, but hobbies are a big thing I am about. If anybody ever tells you, like, for your hobbies, oh, you should have one for a side hustle, no. You shouldn't have, your hobby should not be a side hustle for you to make more money. Unless, like, you really want to pursue it to make it a business, you shouldn't just pursue a hobby for a side hustle. A hobby is there to be enjoyed. It's not there to stress over to make you more money. And, if it's something that's fulfilling for you to go that direction, go ahead, you do you, but don't heed these, like, influencers' advice, like, you should, go learn to knit just to sell. No. Hobbies are about just, like, your own interests, and that's actually something I had to look at as far as when I was a graphic design major. I had to be like, okay, this can be my bread and butter, this can be my income, but I had to look at it and be like, a lot of people do freelance work, and it's not a stable thing, like income all the time, and I knew I'd grow to hate it. That stayed as my hobby, and I went into other stuff that interested me for a career that still fulfilled me. Other things for self-care, definitely stuff like I do some pampering. I recently recolored my hair. I'm about baths. I like my baths. I will go into the bathtub with a book and disappear for an hour or two. And, that's one of my things I do to unwind, just because the bathtub is kind of the sacred place to shut out all distractions. Other self-care can be, let me think. Sometimes you need to indulge yourself a little bit. I'm not saying go on a spending spree, but if you're having a bad day or something to reward yourself, like if it's $5 over at Dollar Tree, just to get some cool hair accessories, or run over to Five Below, a little bit of retail therapy is fine. Do not go on a spending spree. But if it's been a bad week, occasionally that's fine. The other thing is, treating yourself to other things. Treat yourself. Because, sometimes you just have days where it's like, it's been a bad day, screw it, I'm going to Starbucks. Advice I would give for people, if you're struggling with things as far as mental health goes, big thing I would say is you're not alone. You may think, oh, it's just people who have a mental illness who struggle, or, are dealing with maybe addiction that struggle. No. Everybody struggles. I don't care what other people are telling you or whoever's living their best life on social media. Everybody struggles with something, because the thing is, we're all human. We all have problems and things we have to juggle. So you're not the only person struggling. Also, with the fact that you're not alone, if you are struggling with stuff, give yourself some grace. You're doing a hard thing of, you're trying to figure out how to manage your mental health. You're trying to figure out how to, maybe you haven't, like me, I had never worked full-time successfully until within the last 2 years. And you're doing your best. Give yourself grace. you know, and be like, hey, I'm doing okay, I'm trying, I'm working on it. It's not going to be perfection at first. And honestly, anybody who looks at it and says you need to be perfect has probably their own issues they're working on. So you're not alone. Everyone struggles. And just give yourself grace. Be lenient with yourself. Treat yourself like how you would treat somebody else who is struggling. Your best friend is having issues. You're not going to yell at them and be like, oh, you're such a bad person. You're going to look at them and be like, hey, I understand it. This is a lot of stuff to deal with. So treat yourself like you would treat somebody else who's struggling. Okay, guys, that is the end of my video for here. I hope some of this was helpful for you. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel for some more awesome videos from the ROSC Council. And hopefully you'll see me on some more videos later.